All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So it's been a bit since I've actually covered this sector, but I will give it the love it needs. We will take a look at TLRY, CGC, MSOS, SNDL, HITI, and if I have time, I'll throw in ACB and maybe break out some of those MSOs within the ETF, right? But it's looking rough across really all of them, right? And I think what matters more than these individual stocks is what's going on with the major market around us. All right. So, I'm going to give you my technical thoughts on the tickers, but a lot of what's going on, it really goes beyond just this sector right now, but a lot of what's going on is the market is so unhappy that it's very difficult for anything to do well. All right. Oftentimes, I refer to the big three index, the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, and the Dow Jones. I refer to those as the ocean, right? And personally, I like going out on a boat when the ocean is calm, right? I get a little seasick. I don't like big waves, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want some shark to eat me. I like when the water is calm, and that's the best time to go out. And again, the boat in this case is all the little tickers that we buy, right? The random 3 to 5 letters, right? The ocean is not happy, right? And the Dow Jones, specifically the one that matters for this sector, the Dow Jones is now below the golden line. It is now below all 5 moving averages. On the weekly, we can see that we're now below the 50. And as I zoom out and zoom out and zoom out, there's a lot of lines. I do apologize, but the last time we were below the 50 was sometime in 2023, right? And it only happened a couple times actually, right? So it's significant, right? It's still the first week. We don't know what's going to happen next week, right? And we'll talk about that. But yeah, even the monthly, and you can see for the first time since back here in middle of 2023, where this I would say the loudest we've been under the 8 moving average, right? So Dow Jones is not happy, right? S&P 500 pretty much looks identical and is also not happy, right? And trust me, the weekly and the monthly are about the same as well, right? I'm not going to really look at NASDAQ much, but yeah, when those two aren't well, it is really difficult for weed tickers, for any just Dow Jones brick and mortar, not too focused on tech stock to do well. All right. I think the one thing that's a little on the interesting side to me, and I'll talk about it more as I end the opening thoughts, right? But there was a headline today about 200% tariffs on European alcohol. Now, obviously, when we talk about Tilray, or when I talk about Tilray, excuse me, I do focus more on the weed side of the story than the liquor, right? But this is the number 5 player in alcohol. I don't think Canada is going to be affected or impacted. I also know that Tilray has purchased some US companies recently, right? So they do have a footprint in the US. They're a Canadian company, and what I saw was that 200% tariff was for Europe. So maybe that will actually help here. Maybe instead of paying for so much on that European liquor side, maybe Tilray can get a little extra love there, right? And one thing I've said before is I don't need Tilray to do well because of weed to help the other weed stocks. If this thing gets a good little, like, I don't want to say little, but if this thing could get a good, like, headline about liquor, taking advantage of the new tariff, Tilray comes out and blah, 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 right? I don't know what it needs to say, but that's maybe something that we're hoping for, right? All right. And then just the last thing, look, I said it before, I'm going to keep saying it. I think Trump will help this sector. I would have said the same thing if Kamala won, right? I think both of them during the election were louder than any candidates have ever been, right? I think you just got to keep in mind that Trump is here for 4 years. And by no means do I think legalization is his top 25% priority. You know what I mean? I could see it not happening the first year. I can maybe even see it not happening the second year, maybe towards the middle of the third year, right? So I think things will come, right? I just think the urgency is in other places, you know what I mean? But maybe at some point when money is a bigger, louder need, maybe the sector will come into the rescue and all the tax revenues will be a bigger focus and a bigger point, and maybe that can help, right? But Just my, I'm not the most politically savvy guy, believe me when I say that, but yeah, I think he's gonna do something. I think someone in his cabinet's gonna say and do something as well, just not yet. They have other priorities, right? Like world stuff, tariff stuff, et cetera, et cetera. So cool. I think that's a good opening thought right there. Before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. I've not drawn one in a while. The last one was my death line up here, but I don't even think I will, but I do draw horizontal support and resistance lines manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So, I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna chapter this, but let's just look really quickly at all of them, and I think as I do that live, I'll figure out my plan. But look, this is the TLRY chart, okay? This is the CGC chart. Again, we're under all the moving averages. I have to zoom out more for it, right? But we're under all 5. Obviously, my death line is way up there, and we're down here, right? As I look at MSOS, we're under all 5. The death line's up here. We're down there, right? What does SNDL look like? Okay, SNDL, you're okay. You're not at a death line yet. You're still above it, but you're definitely under all the moving averages. Okay, and then what does ACB look like? Let's just look at it real quick. All right, ACB looks a lot like SNDL. All right, that is what it looks like. We're definitely under all 5 moving averages, but there's places we can still go before we go into that black hole vortex, right? Actually, I can almost make this the. Let's just do that real quick. That'll be our death line, 306. If I don't cover ACB, this cannot go below 306, all right? Hopefully you can see that this 420-ish line, no pun intended, can hold. That's a pretty decent line right there, but if that falls, that's a red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 and nothing like that could be a real bad $1, a little more than $1 drop right there, right? So, but SNDL right there, and then high tide, I'm probably going to do its own little chapter. I have a cool little update about high tide. Hopefully I can make some things happen, but cross my fingers, cross your fingers. I'm trying to get Raj to do an interview here, so we'll see how that goes, but trying to connect with the guy is knock on wood, a potential real goal here. So okay, as I did that, I'm going to basically chapter the first 3 as TLRY, CGC, and MSOS, all right? So really you can see, and I said it moments ago, right? The theme across these are death line is way up here, and we're sitting way down here, all right? Listen, I'm oh man, I can't tell you how much money I lost in this sector back in the 20 teens, all right? There was one single stock. It was CBD for life. I don't actually know what the ticker was anymore, but I actually bought that at around 30 cents. And man, knock on wood, I happened to sell that thing at $4. Sadly, maybe not $4, I don't remember at this time, but man, it was somewhere up there, and I remember being excited. And it wasn't even a lot of money, obviously, at back in the day, right? But sadly, that's the only good story I have in this sector. Everything else just ate so much. And a lot of what I remember, and man, if you watch, look, I'm never here to say buy, sell, hold, all right? Truth be told, if I kept saying buy, average down, and all that sort of stuff, my views would actually be significantly better, right? But this I call things the black hole vortex of death for a reason. I call things the death line for a reason, right? I always say bad things happen under the 8 and the 20 for a reason, right? Let alone under all 5 and die, right? That's been magnified on CGC as well, right? Where our death line was at 280, almost $3. We've basically lost about 66% there, right? And one thing I always say is once you're under the death line, you're going to lose 20% after 20% after 20% after 20%. It's just going to keep on going, right? Because truth be told, there aren't that many educated lines I can draw, right? Like there's just no past history, right? Same with MSOS, and I'm sure all of the MSOs within it, but we're under all five. Deathline was around five. We're basically 50% lower than that right now, and looks like we're heading even lower, right? I'll just quickly flash them, but Cresco Labs, what do you look like? Under all five, and looks like you're going under, right? Kira Leaf, under all five, and it looks like you're going to keep going down. True Leave, TRU, I like the last one. Wow, I didn't go all the way down. Under all five. This one's at least trying to hold a little better, but I mean, basically, it looks exactly the same, right? Verano's another one that we always look at, right? Under all five. Actually, not as low at the low point, right? But oh man, yeah, they all look like MSOS, and yeah, MSOS looks just like CGC and Tilray, right? What really needs to happen for these to actually recover, outside from some sort of political headline, and I'll get right back to that because I did mention that in the opening thoughts, right? But Dow Jones needs to recover. All right, it really, really does. Okay, I simplify it for a reason. This is the ocean that all the little weed stocks are floating on, and just believe me when I say, when it's just nothing but a real pretty uptrend. Obviously, some moments of down, right? And this is obviously the longest, the steepest, and blah blah blah, right? But I mean, when we're just going up, it's real easy. And sadly, truth be told, Tilray and the other tickers don't actually reflect the Dow Jones upness, right? So that's always been something that bothers me, and I haven't talked about it too much. But this sector's disjointment from the indices themselves has always bugged me, right? But oh man, look, when the Dow Jones was good, this was basically flat, right? Obviously, I wanted to go up, but hey, flat's better than down. When the Dow Jones goes down, this thing goes down hard, right? And again, you can basically say the same thing with the S&P 500. That exact same view, this was going up. That exact same view, this was going up. And then, from there we were basically flat till we caught up with the indice move, right? So the moral is, at the minimum, I need those two to recover before these will do okay. You know what I mean? And it's just tough. I know a lot of these are Canadian companies, right? And believe me, I get it when people are like, hey, why do I care if the US is going down and this and that and tariffs and recession and inflation or whatever adjectives you want to use, right? The issue is Tilray is a major listed ticker. This is not some over-the-counter pink stock, right? Same with literally all of these. Goes down to HITI at the very end, right? I know it's a Canadian company, and I don't even think HITI has a U.S. footprint at all, right? The problem is it's a U.S. major market ticker, and if the U.S. index is bad, U.S. tickers on major markets are also going to be bad, regardless of where they're at. You know what I mean? So I think you can argue that a bit, because hey, I'm seeing a lot of like overseas foreign tickers do a little bit better. Like a lot of people are buying Chinese stocks right now, right? And hey, you can say that those are on the major ones and doing better. And believe me, not everything's black and white and set in stone, right? But hopefully you at least get the point, right? I don't have a lot of lines to draw here. The moving averages are actually at a pretty decent spacing, right? I sincerely would love Tilray if this thing can get to 67 cents. Because if you can get to 67 cents, you get over the 8, you're going to take me to the 20 up there. That's actually more than a 10% move. Again, you get over the 20, there's a nice space to take me to the 50, right? So no real new lines. It really is just get over the first one so I can start believing we're going to make our way to the second and third one. Otherwise, all we're going to do is keep failing and staying under the 8 moving average, right? This is a very bad line to be under, or it's your best friend when you're over it, right? And again, same exact words for CGC. This is really good spacing. Get me over the 8 moving average, get me over 115, and let's ride it on up to like 140. That's actually a 20% move right there. You're basically adding 30 cents, right? Break that one, and then there's a nice little space from here to there, right? And truth be told, I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to delete this. I don't think we need that. I'm just going to keep my death line. Right now it's the moving averages and it's the spacing that matters. And then one last time, exact same thing on MSOS. This is a little tighter, so I actually would like the other two more than this one. But again, get me over the 8, get me over 285, 290, take me on up to the 20, break that, take me up to the 50. I would prefer take me over from the 50 to the 100, but that might be asking a little too much, and why I said I think the other two might be a little bit worth our eyes more. One more thing, or two more things, sorry. I do think that, I'm going to go back to the chart. Tilray hopefully can take advantage of this 200% European alcohol liquor tariff, right? From what I quickly read, and when I say read, I just looked at some headlines and moved on because I'm not a big reader. You know what I mean? I do numbers and lines. It looks like it's a European only, right? So I don't know if Canada is part of it. Please correct me if I'm wrong, right? But if it is actually European only, I think Tilray has a shot. And let's say let's say Canada is included. I know Tilray just bought some things in the US, right? Again, let me know if I'm wrong, because when I say I know, that doesn't mean I'm correct, right? I'm just some dude talking to the mic, right? But they at least, I believe, have a US footprint and hopefully can use that as a way to take advantage of the tariff, right? And again, this can do well in weed or in liquor for the other weed stocks to rise with this one, in my opinion, right? But the move basically here is get me over the 8, take me to the 20, and then continue if possible, right? So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's quickly look at SNDL and ACB. Let me at least do it. So I think the one thing with this, obviously, this is also dang, I wish. This is also below all 5 moving averages on the daily. This is below all 5. Where's your 2? Yeah, it's below all 5 on the weekly. Is that the same thing for ACB? It's a little closer. I wouldn't necessarily say it's below, but it is like physically below. But it's not as SNDL was 2 candles. Is that correct? Oh, it's 3 candles. Yeah, I would say SNDL is lower on the weekly, but ACB is basically around it. Obviously, it's going to be below all 5 on the daily as well. The one thing that makes these two just a little bit more different than the first 3, they're not at the death line yet, right? This is 306 before we fall into all-time lows, the black hole vortex of death. And then with SNDL, it's 137 before I think all-time lows and black hole vortex. Look, just like ACB, this line is not the very bottom, right? Clearly, that's the lowest this thing has been, and that's where you start thinking. To me, you lose this line, and it's going to be very, 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 very hard to do anything but go into the black hole vortex, right? So, in some ways, these do have a little bit more strength because, actually, I should have gone to here. If you remember, we did our very best to hold this death line, right? We would come to it, and not lose it. CGC, we would come to it. Now this one lost it a little bit more, but there was a little bit of at least like a try right there. You don't necessarily lose the death line like a hot knife through butter. They should be good supports, right? And again, not good for me to think that we're going to go from 4 to 3 here, or for 2 something to 1 something on SNDL, right? But I think the one positive really just is we have some support before we get to the last support, and that last support should be a strong line, right? Believe me when I say these are not significantly better than the other ones, right? It's not like I'm saying, hey, these are fantastic. But where I worry those 3 are in the black hole vortex, these aren't, and there's a significant difference between those, right? There's really bad, and then there's just bad, right? Like, I get really sad when I touch a hot pot and my finger burns. I would get really, really upset if something worse happens in that. I don't even want to say it to throw that juju out there, right? But yeah, there is a difference between bad and real bad, and hey, I'd rather be above the death line than below it, I think, at the bare minimum, right? But I think the moving average thoughts are the same, right? This one's a little bit tighter, so personally, I'd wait for that. I would rather this thing get over 480-ish before I get in, and then hopefully we can ride it on up to like 5 something. SNDL, I think, was kind of the same. No, SNDL, I think, has the spacing of the first ones, and yeah, get me over the 8, get me over 155, and yeah, hopefully we can take it to 160, get me over 160, hopefully we can take it to that 174, right? I'm going to delete this line because really it's that 50 moving average that matters more. I'll keep that. And then, yeah, this better stay over 135. At least it's not from 2 something to 1 something. But I think what worries me is SNDL is actually a lot closer to the death line than ACB is. There's actually not that many more support lines I would be drawing here. Maybe there's one more at 147, but at that point, it's basically the 137 death line right there, right? So cool. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's come into high tide real quick. And oh man, there are some technical thoughts that are going on right here. The one thing I want to share real quick. Hey, let's see if it happens. All right. So I tried before, nothing really happened. I actually reached out to Raj. Man, the guy actually tried calling me and I totally messed it up. Knock on wood, he'll try one more time. But hey, it would be really cool if he like actually was gonna come, and then I'll figure out a way. You guys can get me some, and you girls can get me some questions to ask him, and hopefully it's a cool thing that goes to other companies. But I got excited. My wife got excited. I can't pretend that didn't happen. Let's get into the thoughts, all right? And I don't know if you fast forwarded or not, but I just mentioned this on one of the chapters. I realize that this is a 100% Canadian company. I'm fairly confident, please correct me if I'm wrong. They don't even have a single US like footprint at all. There's nothing, no dispensary, no growing anything, no distribution anything. Let me know if that's wrong, right? But I've had people ask me, why do I care that the US markets aren't doing that well when this is a 100% Canadian company? The issue is, right, and when I type high tide, this is a NASDAQ listed ticker. This is not some random little over the counter, some not random pink stock. This is NASDAQ, right? And the market needs to do well, right? Obviously, I always say I don't necessarily care about tech, right? But when NASDAQ's not doing well, it's hard for a NASDAQ listed ticker to do well, right? And then again, I always say when the Dow Jones isn't doing well, it's hard for the sector to do well because all we're really talking about is farming and putting stuff in a store, right? There's not a lot of technology. There's absolutely no e-commerce because that's still illegal, right? Like this is just farming and selling, right? So I focus on the Dow Jones more. I just showed the NASDAQ for the actual listing, but that's why it matters, right? And I'm gonna say that number one, if you watched my long ones, I thought we were gonna do way better, right? The yearly candle was really nice. It was a good answer to that doji. Lo and behold, we're basically at 50% of that candle already, right? It is still so early in the year, and there's still a lot that can happen in the next, 9 months before this candle closes, right? But, oh man, this is also why I love the daily and the weekly more than the long term, right? But it's crazy to see us under the golden line. It's crazy to see us over all the moving averages not that long ago and actually looking at right back under at the moment, right? Nothing has changed here, right? It's not like high tide all of a sudden, did something different or this and that. It's just part of the market. You know what I mean? And I say this little disclaimer more here because I feel like there's more high tide longs than swing traders that look at this, right? But that's all the thoughts I have in my head, right? Hopefully, still crushing it in Canada. I don't really know a lot of the stuff, right? But it's just it's a factor of the market and the overall ocean, right? Like you hear me say that it's choppy out there. So what's happening, I kind of mentioned it as I was saying my little stuff, right? We're under the golden line. That's not a good place to be, right? We're under all 5 moving averages. That's not a good place to be. We have been struggling with the 8, a little go to the 20, but struggling with the 8 for far too long now, actually almost the entirety of the year, right? So these are not happy technicals. Let me zoom in. Sorry, I went the wrong way. We do see green under red on both. We're seeing a rather ugly divergence starting here, right? Weekly is still a lot better than all the others, you can say, right? This one's actually still over at least one moving average as opposed to I looked at all the MSOs, I looked at all of the tickers that I'm like, this is the only one that's still over one, right? So that's for sure a good thing comparatively, but it's just tough when the market is bad, right? Like it's almost insulting to compare this to Nvidia for someone that's in Nvidia, right? But even Nvidia is not doing well. Nvidia is still the number one thing in the globe, arguably, and that thing's struggling, right? So it's not like anything's changed on Nvidia. It's not like anything's gotten slower with their chips. They haven't, caused any issues and this and that. It's just the market is bad, right? So bad things will happen under $2, all right? Because we've seen it, right? We've seen them lose all the moving averages and go, right? We've seen them lose all the moving averages and go. And when I say go, I'm obviously saying down, right? Lose all the moving averages and go down. Look, again, I'm on the weekly on all of these, and all of them are significantly below. I can go into every single MSO. I did 4 of them. They're all under, I promise you, and I think you believe me, right? ACB is trying its best to stay as close, but it is actually under on the weekly. And then SNDL is also under, right? HITI is the only one that still has 1 left on the weekly. And man, we can't go under it because we'll mimic the rest, right? So, there's not a lot of good I can say here. The coolest thing I can say is, hey, hopefully I can get that Raj interview. I would love to make that happen. And like I said, I'll make it as interactive as possible if it actually hits. Hopefully that actually brings other interviews for other things, right? That'd be super cool. But otherwise, right now, look, if you're long and strong, the best thing you can do is ignore things, right? If you're a swing trader like I am and you're not married and you're not invested, not I am married, obviously. I mean, like, you're not like attached to a ticker, or you're not like, long and strong. I don't know how else to say it, right? It's hard to trade. It really, really is. You know what I mean? And the last I'm not here to tell you what my money's in, right? But I'm looking at inverse tickers, right? It's crazy to me that it's just been this. I'm just riding the moving averages up, 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 and breaking all 5 finally, while other things can't, right? SH is another one, doing the exact same thing, right? SDAO is another one, right? Doing the exact same thing, right? It's tough out there. It is. And believe me, I'd get so many more views if I just said average down and buy, and average down and buy, and smiley face, the market's not on fire. Dude, this is rough, right? So know your plan, know your time frame. Knock on wood, I get this Raj interview. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so, so much.